Hello, I am Super Orange Cat. Here I am today with some predictions for what's going to happen on Toonami in 2020. First, I have some Toonami news to take care of. Yesterday morning, it was announced that Sword Art Online War of the Underworld, which is the second part to Sword Art Online Alicization, will be premiering in Japan in April of 2020. And I've mentioned this earlier, but this will eventually air on Toonami. Question is more of a battle of when. Will it be close to the premiere of it in Japan in April, or will it be more in toward the summer? But again, especially considering that this is really the second part of Alicization ending in a not spoiler, ending in a cliffhanger. It's gonna happen beyond Toonami at some point. My opinion on Sword Art Online, especially going to Alicization, is pretty interesting. Where for the first two Sword Art Online series, I could point at it and just say it's bad, and here is its many flaws. Alicization is interesting in which it's clearly better, but in the weird way, any given episode can be a great, well done episode, or it can be one of the most hilariously horrible episodes in history. Like, and I mentioned this in my last video, you could have something as poignant and well done as the 10th episode, or it can take you like 6 episodes in the final boss fight, most of which is filled with dialogue, exposition, which ends up being irrelevant for the most part, or some other character sacrificing themselves in a way that was absolutely unnecessary for the plot. And again, in a weird way, I'm excited for this, and I'm definitely going to wait for when it drops on Toonami, probably in the summer of 2020, and I'm interested for that. And now on to my predictions for 2020 in Toonami. Let me start with some more slam dunk predictions. First off, there will be no total immersion event this year. It's already, I think, been hinted at by the Toonami staff that we're a ways away from getting another one of those. So the current formatting that we have for Toonami is gonna stay for the time being, which I personally like because I've mentioned it like 3 different videos that I really like this new format, this new style of Toonami. And another prediction I'm gonna make just an omnibus prediction of certain shows we will definitely see on the block in 2020. These are the one I just mentioned, Sword Art Online, War of the Underworld's gonna happen. I think Boruto is gonna come back to the block. Mob Psycho's second season's gonna be on the block. What else? What else? We already know Uzumaki, the uh, the anime adaptation of the manga by Junji Ito will be on the block. I have a more of a specific prediction is that it will first air on October 10th, 2020. That's my prediction. And the reason why I say this is that it is a 4-part miniseries. So if you put one edition each week, it will have one on the 10th, one on the 17th, one on the 24th, and then the last part will fall on October 31st, which is Halloween, which is on a Saturday this year, which I think this is just too perfect an opportunity to pass up considering Junji Ito being the master of horror manga. That's a certain bet in my opinion. And like I said, not much analysis needs to go into some of these other like sequel predictions like War of the Underworld. Like I said, Alicization on the block is gonna be on Boruto. Boruto did well enough consistently that Toonami is gonna find a way to bring it back on the block when we have like a show leave and not have an immediate replacement. And also again, Mob Psycho's first season was on, and they still apparently have a deal with the company considering that we have One Punch Man season 2 going on right now, so I don't see any reason to believe that Mob Psycho season 2 also won't be on the block at some point. I think that would be sooner rather than later. And also, other predictions I can make. One show I can predict will not be on the block is One Piece. Like, I know they're restarting dubbing the show again, but considering it really didn't do that well with ratings, considering apparently it was a very expensive show to pick up for the block, I just don't see any reason to believe that Toonami is going to give One Piece another chance on the block. I'd be extremely surprised if it does. So, other predictions I have for the block. I'm going to predict that by the end of next year, so let's say going into before all the marathons in 2020, we will have the highest rated show in the block, which I can't even tell you because by this point in the block, you're going to have My Hero Academia back in reruns, maybe Boruto. By that time, I think that the highest rated show in the block will pull in approximately a 0.16 in the ratings. I say this because, of course, there is the concept of cable cutting. It is increasing still, albeit by increasing, I mean it's like more people are cutting cable. The rate of it is actually starting to decrease a bit. So maybe we hit some period in the future where there's not much more cable cutting. And we'll hit like a new kind of standard for cable television for what are good ratings. And I think it'll bottom out probably around a 0.13, 0.14 in the future. But I think at the end of this year, it'll be like a 0.16 or so for the highest rated show, with some of the lower rated shows in the block falling below a 0.1 consistently. Although we've had a couple times this year alone where we had shows dip under 0.1, I mean, it's going to be consistent and more or less expected of some of the back end shows in the block by that time being. Speaking of the block and its length, it will be shorter in the future. I feel like even with the new shows that I know for certain will be on the block at some point, Toonami will have a net trend of cutting slots, particularly towards the start of the block, because, and this seems counterproductive to me, because if you follow Adult Swim, then you'll know that by, I think, fall 2021, they'll no longer have the rights to any of the Seth MacFarlane shows. So Family Guy is gone, American Dad's going to be gone, and even even other Fox shows. I think Bob's Burgers they'll no longer have the rights to at that point. And really, when you're at that point, then they're going to have to rely completely on their own original content. You could say, what about Rick and Morty? Well, to this point, I think there's only like 36 episodes. So rerunning those episodes will loop around very quickly, which is not really that good for any shows, which why I'm kind of surprised that in cable reruns Rick and Morty still does so well, considering they usually air like one episode per weeknight, but we only have 30 something episodes. That means per 6, 7 weeks they're going to loop around, which I don't think is necessarily a healthy way to run your shows. But again, it's far and away the biggest cash cow Adult Swim has, and they really don't have that much to replace it with, especially when they're going to have Family Guy off the block, which has been the other stalwart that Adult Swim's had. So we'll see from there. But again, I really feel like, and especially another reason why I think the block will cut is because they're definitely throwing a lot of money at Uzumaki, and they're also throwing money at Blade Runner. And I'm personally not certain if Blade Runner is going to run in 2020 or not. I think it's a 50-50 shot, but I could see them using the excuse of, well, we have Uzumaki being our production we're may have having for 2020. So Blade Runner is going to be our production we're going to put in 2021. And that's my guess. So if I had to give a prediction, I'll say Blade Runner will not be on the block in this upcoming year. And again, I'm honestly surprised in the first place that they've been given this much leverage to throw money at projects, especially considering that the two Fooly Cooley sequels really ended up probably costing them quite a bit of money for very minimal at best returns. But again, maybe there's numbers they have that I don't know. And also, really, I'm trying to think of other stuff that I can really safely predict, or if I'm ballsy enough to predict. Okay, how about I predict what the schedule roughly is going to look like? I said how long it's going to be. I talked about what shows are going to be on it. Now, what is it actually going to look like? My theory is that by the end of the year, Boruto will be the lead-off show on the block. And it's really simple, basic elimination. By the end of the year, My Hero Academia will run out of new episodes, so that can't lead the block. Sword Online War of the Underworld. Sword Online, as much of the times it's been a good draw for the block, it's not going to be good enough to lead off the block, so it's not going to be that. Something like Mob Psycho will probably be over by then, but again, not the type of show to lead the block. And really, I mean, I guess they could be really ballsy with it and put Ship It in the start. Because, I mean, it has a very consistent fan base. I mean, a lot of people still diehard Naruto fans this far into the future. But at the same time, it is a really old property at this point. Episodes that are airing now, I think first, like, were put on streaming services, like, years ago. So although they're technically new to American television, they're not new. But and also, I can't think of any other shows that would be airing new episodes that has that much of a fan base or that much of a feasible crossover with something that Adult Swim has. Like Black Clover might be still doing new episodes, but I don't think it can cross over well with the normal Adult Swim block as much as something Boruto can. But again, that's just my prediction. And those are just basically a summation of some of my predictions I have for Toonami in 2020. What are your guys' predictions for what's going to happen in Toonami 2020? What's your opinion on Sword Art World, the Underworld, probably being on Toonami sometime in the summer? Leave your opinions down below. If you like this, if you want more Toonami content, please like this video. Please subscribe, hit that notification button. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.